Hi everyone, I hope you're well and I hope you're all keeping safe and sound. I wanted to come in and do a little video about something that got me thinking, and that is if we didn't have the COVID-19 outbreak and we weren't in lockdown, we'd probably be planning breaks away either for the Easter break, bank holidays or the summer breaks. And one of the things that we tend to pack away with us is sun protection. However, we are in lockdown and we are at home. So how much thought do we give ourselves when it comes to protecting our skin against the damaging rays of the sun? After all, we still have to go to the shops and get essential shopping, or if we are blessed with gardens or balconies, we would be also spending time soaking the sun there. So in order to really have a look at what damaging rays can do, I want to go back to the beginning. So with that in mind, I wanted to show you the rays that are responsible for sun damage. So here we have the UVB rays, which are the shortest wavelength, and they tend to hit the epidermal layer of the skin, and they are responsible for the browning of the skin. Here we have the longer wavelength, which is the UVA rays, and they tend to hit deeper into the skin and they hit the dermal layers of the skin, and they are more responsible with photoaging. Here we have the new kid on the block, which is called the blue light, also known as high energy visible light, and more research is showing that this ray is also responsible for skin damage. However, on the plus side, this is also responsible for a good contributor for boosting mood, alertness, and improving memory. Okay, so for now, I wanted to focus mainly on the UVA as well as the UVB. So, as we said before, the UVB is a shorter wavelength that's responsible for the browning of the skin, which is the tanning of the skin. So how do we get the tan? Well, we get the tan through the pigment called melanin, and these are really our natural umbrellas in the skin, and they protect our skin from the harmful rays of the sun. However, too much of them and excessive exposure, we will end up with burning. On the other side, where you've got the UVA, is far deeper, and that tends to penetrate deeper into the dermis, where it can cause DNA damage. It can cause the breakdown of the collagen and elastin that's responsible for smooth, supple skin, ending up with wrinkly skin and also slacky skin and textural changes of the skin, as well as pigmentation. So what I'd like you to remember is that UVB stands for the burning, B equals burning, whereas UVA stands for aging, A equals aging. So the differences between the UVB and the UVA is that UVA can penetrate throughout the year. It can go through glass, it can go through a cloudy day, and come rain or shine, we will end up with the damage of UVA. So it is not always the case that we need to be on holiday and whilst the sun is shining that we end up having to use sun protection. It has to be throughout the year. Now, I'll show you an example, or the reason being because this gentleman here is a Canadian truck driver. And this gentleman, some of you may have seen this picture on the internet, some of you are not familiar with it. This gentleman here has spent 28 years of his life driving his truck up and down. And as you can see, his face is completely split in half, where one half is completely wrinkly and sagging skin, where you've got pigmentation changes and premature aging. The other half does not correlate to the half that's been exposed. And that is the half that he sat where he was against the window as the sun was shining during the day, while this half was pretty much where the passenger seat is. So you can see excessive and long-term exposure of UVA rays as well as UVB can cause a problem, but in this case for him it's probably mostly because of the UVA damage that he's experienced, because his skin is the same color. He doesn't have tan on one side and the other, but what he has is pigmentation, and he has slackening of the skin, wrinkly skin, and a lot lot of textural changes, as you can see here. So the effects of the skin as a result of UVA damage are detrimental. But what seems to be far more detrimental than that is both UVA and UVB can cause more of a health risk, and that is skin cancer. So skin cancer is not something that we need to be taking lightly, and sun rays can be a factor of skin cancer. In fact, they are the biggest factor in skin cancer. So let me show you a little bit more about what they look like. So a healthy mole would look like this, which is nice and rounded, symmetrical, whereas an unhealthy one, a cancerous one, can go and become asymmetrical. Then we have got their borders can change, their color changes, and their diameter can change as well. So all of these are healthy cells, and all of these are cancerous cells. So please be mindful that sun protection can protect you against skin cancer. So if you start to feel that you have got a mole that starts to itch, if you start to feel that your mole if you see your mole bleeding, if it doesn't heal, or there are any changes in the way that I have described, that it's not symmetrical, it changes in color, it changes in shape, it changes in borders, the circumference around it, then please, I urge you to go and make an appointment to see your GP, who will then refer you to a dermatologist for further assessment. And that is incredibly important. So when it comes to products and using sun preparation, how do we know what to use and what do they look like? Well, sun preparation can come into two different forms. They can either be inorganic, which is known as physical, or organic, known as chemical. But please be mindful that that organic does not mean natural. In this particular case, organic product does not mean natural. All it means, it has a carbon atom in this molecule. It has a carbon atom in this product. Apart from that, that's all it means. So the difference between them is the way they are made up and how they work. So an organic compound or an organic filter works by absorbing the energy, the sun rays, and then converting it into a more safer energy. Whereas the inorganic, which is the physical one, it sits on top of the skin and it reflects the light that way. And that is mainly the difference between how they work. Now also the names are different. What you might find, names like avobenzone, octobenzone, these are the organic filters that you will find in your sun cream. Whereas the inorganic or the physical filters, they physically sit on the skin, are such as titanium dioxide or zinc oxide, and they are known as inorganic physical filters. So what is the difference or the advantages between the organic and the inorganic? Well, the inorganic tend to have less skin irritation. They have higher protection, and probably the disadvantage would be that they are more costly. The organic filters, however, tend to be less costly, but they can cause more skin irritation. So here's the difference between the organic and the inorganic filters. So we can have a look at here. So a better diagram of that. So you have got the organic and the inorganic. So the organic filters, they penetrate into the skin completely, and the skin absorbs it, converting it into harmless energy. The inorganic, while they sit on the skin, they just filter and deflect. They deflect completely. They deflect the light. They just filter the light out because they are physical filters. Okay, so I'll also need to go through the products when it comes to what is the difference between a sun protection factor and one that, you know, whether it's a 15, 30, 50. So Majority of the people when I see in my clinic, one of the questions I would ask, and it's a staple question every single time, is what type of sun protection do you use? And I am surprised to see that some of them say, well, I don't really need it. It's not, I'm here, I use it when I go on holiday. So others say, well, I use some, it's in my makeup, it's in my moisturizer, and that's about a factor 15. So let's talk numbers. So when it comes to factor 15 or factor 20 or factor 30, what is it that we need to be looking out for? Well, factor 15 represents the amount of protection that you will get in your skin, in your sun preparation, and that is 91% protection. Factor 30 gives you 96% protection, whilst factor 50 gives you 97 to 98 protection. So here you are, you need to go and really understand that the difference is between factor 30 and factor 50 is a mere 1.6 to 2%. So again, be mindful of the marketing that goes on. If it says total protection, doubling up the factors does not mean that you're going to get total protection. So just because you go from a factor 50 to a factor 100 does not mean that you have total protection against the sun damaging rays. So that's very, very important to know. Also, you need to know that the SPF, which is the sun protection factor, when it comes to the numerical part, that only corresponds to the UVB rays. So it's protection against the UVB rays, not the UVA rays. The UVA rays are demonstrated by the stars. So you'll see 5-star protection, 4-star protection. You might find them at the front of your packets, which I will show you as an example, or you might get them at the back of your packets. But the main thing to know that your sun protection product must have both as a UVA filter or a UVA protection as well as a UVB protection, and that is what's known as a broad spectrum sun protection. Broad spectrum sun protection. We could never ever have complete protection because we've got to make sure that unless we put the right amount, which is tends to be about half a teaspoon for the face, put it frequently and put it properly, then we can never ever guarantee a complete sun protection. So putting it appropriately means that we need to make sure we remember to put it on the ears and the nose and the face completely. Cover the other areas, must also be addressed at other exposed areas. You'd be surprised, I have missed my nose so many times when I was doing my sun cream application. So it is easy to miss. So just be mindful, your earlobes, your ears, your nose, your tender areas, they all need to be protected against the harmful rays. And any area in the skin that is exposed will also need to be protected. And in addition to that, when it comes to applying it, make sure that you apply it frequently, and even more than that, when you are swimming or sweating, that repeated applications are key to making sure that you are fully protected. So with the UV, that's the UVA and the UVB, you need to make sure that you are totally protected with a broad spectrum sun preparation. So let's have a look at some sun preparation that we have, that I've taken out, and I'm going to give you some that you can compare on the high street and others that I tend to currently stock in my clinic. And they're in the clinic, when we are in clinic format, we tend to stock a cosmeceutical range of sun preparation. So an example of this is Cetaphil. So have a look at Cetaphil. Cetaphil, the advantages of it, it's non-comedogenic, it's hypoallergenic, and it does what it says on the tin. And also it has a sun protection in an SPF format, which is factor 50, as well as a 5-star protection at the back, which you will see if you go into any of your high street chemists, which you can do. You can get them from high street chemists. And remember, your chemist is an essential service. They are open. You can actually go in your high street chemist and you'll be able to get these. Apart from that, search on the internet and see if you can actually find them. That's one option. The other option is one that is called Eucerin. Now, Eucerin has both UVA and UVB, and also has an ingredient that protects against the blue light. And this is the high street version of the ones that protects against the blue light. Both these items are about 20 to 25 pounds thereabouts to buy on the high street. The third one is the number 7, Protect and Perfect. If I have a look at that, it will show you that here it actually shows you the 5-star protection against the UVA. So not only it gives you the marker, which is factor 50 or factor 30, but it clearly demonstrates on the bottle at the front that it has a 5-star protection, and that means a full protection against UVA rays. Okay. These are the high street ones, and I think this is around about 15-20 pounds as well. What I tend to stock in my clinic, and I absolutely love, so I currently stock the Zedo range, which is a Clips range, and I love it because it does have the blue light filter as well as the UVA and UVB. But I love the fact that it is packaged in a way that it's a pump dispenser, so you have a complete monitored dose of how much you need to use on your skin, as well as airtight, and it is keeps all the bacteria and all the anything from coming in. So it's nice, airtight, vacuum filled, and it is protected, completely protected, and I do love to use this one. The second one I'm an absolute fan of, and I also stock and use on my clients after their treatments, is this one called Skin Med. And Skin Med has an ingredient in there that allows soothing of your skin, and this, although this is a factor 50, it actually absorbs beautifully into the skin. And again, we're looking at a pump dispenser, so it gives you the monitored amount of cream that you would need to make sure that you're fully protected against the harmful rays of UVA as well as UVB. The third one that I would use, as well as stock in my clinic, is also another cosmeceutical range, is from a wonderful company called IS Clinical. And they also have their factor 30, and it has an ingredient that is against DNA damage. They also have the chemical and physical components in there to protect against sun damage. And in fact, most creams, most sun preparations would have a combination of chemical as well as physical filters in their preparation, in their creams. You just need to make sure you have ones that do have either titanium dioxide or zinc oxide in particular, which is a quite nice ingredient to have. So we all love the sun, we all love to bask in the sun, and everybody feels happy in the sun, but we need to be able to respect it and respect our skin. So my take-home message to you is this: make sure that when you go in the sun, you are adequately and fully protected, as fully as you can possibly be, by making sure that you have your sun protection, and you make sure that you have repeated application of your sun protection. Secondly, wear appropriate clothing, so sunglasses, hats, etc. That's an absolute important, covering the areas that are most exposed and most likely to be sensitive. Thirdly, make sure the time of day that you go is where the sun is bearable, not at its strongest, because that really does affect the skin and can cause quite a lot of damage. Fourthly, and it's something I'm incredibly passionate about, but before I say that to you, I will say this, that all the treatments that I do, that people spending money for, it means absolutely nothing if you go back and reverse everything else that you have paid good money for, by not protecting your skin appropriately throughout the year. So the fourth one is the one that I'm really passionate about, and that is avoid at all costs from using sunbeds. They will damage your skin and they could contribute towards skin cancer. everything here, excessive sun exposure is really not advisable, but sunbeds are really a no-no. So please, if I can ask you to do one thing, is avoid sunbeds, because they will not do you any favors in the long run. Sun protection will not stop you from tanning. It will just stop you from burning and delay the signs of aging.